Welcome to the Battle Ready Sermon Podcast with Captain Rob Westwood-Payne.
Now, I don't know about you, but I love Christmas lights, and they really kind of fit in with this time of year, particularly in this country, because it seems dark and it gets dark so early. I think I've said earlier in the Christmas period, I'll be sitting preparing a sermon or preparing worship at home and thinking, blimey, I must have been working for a long time this afternoon because it's been dark for a couple of hours. Only discover it's only 4:00 and I haven't been working that long after all. But that's what it's like. And so it's great to have Christmas lights, and I'd keep them up till, February time when it starts to get a bit lighter, but I'm not allowed to. But like Christmas lights cannot always shut out the darkness. We may have Christmas lights on, but we can still struggle for peace at home amidst the busyness and sometimes the stress of the Christmas season. There's still darkness because we may be under end-of-year pressures at work, and that can dim our spiritual focus. It may be that we started out Advent with a real determination to find some time amidst the busyness to spend time with God in this precious month. But we look back now and we see that soon work stress or family stress or whatever kind of stress took over, and we stopped doing that soon into Advent. We recognize that at this time of year, loneliness can feel more acute despite all the festivities that are going on around us. We know, a lot of us, that church life can become really busy as we play and sing and serve and collect and everything else that we do, that when we get to today, to Christmas Day, we kind of feel as if we've missed the miracle again. You see, no matter how hard they try, Christmas lights cannot extinguish the darkness. And yet we also know that Jesus calls us, his followers, to be light in the darkness. This is what he says to us in Matthew chapter 4 and verses 14 to 16 from the Message translation this morning. Here's another way to put it, Jesus says. You're here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. We're going public with this, as public as a city on a hill. If I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Keep open house. Be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt them to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. We are called to be a light in the world. So I wonder what sort of light you would like to be for Jesus. I want you to have a look at our Christmas tree this morning. Which of those lights would you like to be? Anyone? The star? Hands up if you think the star and you're just too embarrassed to tell us. Yeah? A few stars. Yeah, I guess that most of us, or at least many of us, would want to be the star. Stars inspire us. They dazzle us. They encourage us to dream. And many Christians do want to be stars, evangelical supernovas, if you like, who light up the sky and attract people to them. Two of Jesus' own disciples had what you might call star syndrome. You might remember them, James and John, and their ambitious mother, who wanted Jesus to save them seats in heaven, the star seats, if you like. They wanted star status, a place where they could shine down on others. And Jesus has to patiently explain to them that their request is a bit wrong-headed. Firstly, because it's God who determines heaven's seating order. But perhaps most importantly in that moment, he had to teach them that those who want to be first in the kingdom of God must give selfless service to others. So maybe rather than being a star, our ambition should be to be lamps for Jesus instead. Now, I'm hoping my assistant has checked the battery in this because I didn't get a chance to beforehand. And I need to remember how to open it. But apart from that, it's a great illustration. I'm beginning to wish I had tested it now. There we go. Perhaps when it comes to being lights for Jesus, we are better off being lowly lamps. See, lamps do things like keep us from stubbing our toe when we encounter a challenging stone as we wander down life's road. Lamps are willing to burn out in service to others. Lamps shine so that others can find the light of the world himself. When you come to think about it, the whole Christmas story, which is what we've been looking at throughout Advent and into Christmas, is full of light. We have the light that surrounds the shepherds. Luke chapter 2 says, that night there were shepherds staying in the fields nearby, guarding their flocks of sheep. Suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared among them, and the radiance of the Lord's glory surrounded them. There's light. And they were terrified. We have the light that guided the Magi to the stable, or to where Jesus was. Matthew 2 verses 9 and 10 say, after this interview with Herod, the wise men went their way, and the star they'd seen in the east guided them to Bethlehem. It went ahead of them and stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, when they saw the light, they were filled with joy. And then in his beautiful prologue, St. John reminds us that Jesus himself is the light. John chapter 1 says, in the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. The Word gave life to everything that was created, and his life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. And John was talking about Jesus, and Jesus, the light of the world, calls us to be lights of the world. And the main point that Jesus is making in these verses in Matthew chapter 5 is that Christians must be visible. There should be no invisible Christians. Jesus says, if I make you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine. Now, this idea of visibility, for those who are regular worshippers here, this idea of visibility is something that God prompted us about during our big conversation earlier this year. But it's not about getting ourselves more publicity and being in the Maidenhead Advertiser more often or on social media or anything like that. It's not necessarily about doing more open air meetings, but it is about us as individuals, not hiding away in our church or our citadel, but being out there, permeating and penetrating the darkness of the world. We are to be in the world as lights of the world, but not of the world. We are to be in the world as lights in the darkness for the world. We are to be as visible as a lamp on a table in a dark room, or as visible as a fully lit skyscraper in the otherwise dark urban sky. So how can we be visible lights in a dark world? Well, Jesus goes on to tell us it's by doing good works. He goes on to say, keep open house, be generous with your lives. By opening up to others, you'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. Christianity, our faith, is most visible, Jesus says, through good works. And if that's true, we need to know what good works are. What are they? Because immediately, as active salvationists, we kind of think, oh, we need to do more service. I need to do more. But Jesus' words here in Matthew chapter 5 come immediately after he's preached the Beatitudes. So actually, they seem like a good place to start when it comes to good works. And as we read through those, we find it's much more about who we are rather than what we do. And so to be lights of the world, following the Beatitudes, Christians must be willing to let go and let God, to recognize that there must be less of me and more of him. We need to be willing to let go of what is most dear to us, to put what is most dear to us down so that we can fully embrace God. We are to be content with who we are, no more and no less. We shouldn't try to be someone else. We should try to be who we are and who God has made us to be. We are to work up a good appetite for God, to spend more time with him, to consume more of him than we do of anyone or anything else. We're to care for others, to genuinely love them. It's about getting our inside world right, our minds and our hearts, and then we will see more of God's light out in the world. We, as Christians, as followers of Jesus, are to show people how to cooperate rather than to compete or to fight with each other. And we are to be so committed to God that it provokes persecution. Now, that may not be torture or execution in this country, but it may be about being pilloried or rejected for our faith. And when we live this way, when we live out the good works of the Beatitudes, then those around us begin to see the beauty, the attractiveness, and the truthfulness of Jesus himself. As we love others, as we pray for them, as we give generously to them, as we control our anger, as we control our lust and our lies, as we do visible deeds of compassion, then they begin to see the light of the gospel in our lives. So today's challenge on Christmas Day is really simple. It is to be not invisible, but to shine. The sense of the Greek in that phrase, "you're here to be light," is better translated as "you and only you are here to be light." You and only you are here to be light. And if that's true, if Jesus' words are true, then none of us can fail the world that we are called to serve. We must be what we are. We must be light of the world so that we must let our light shine and not to hide it in any way. We mustn't let sin or compromise or laziness or fear dim or extinguish our light. We must remain committed to Jesus' revolution of love, joy, and peace. We're not helpless or powerless, should I say. We're not helpless or powerless. However often we might feel like it in opposition to the darkness that seems to be all around us. Jesus Christ is all the light this world needs. But we must let his light shine through us. The poet puts it, "Yet in thy dark streets shineth the everlasting light." We are to be the bringers of that everlasting light. And so on this Christmas Day, let's pledge ourselves to reflect that everlasting light in our dark streets today and in the coming days. On your chair, or at least somewhere nearby, is a postcard. And for those of you wondering what the other thing was, it's not a sweet, so I hope you haven't swallowed it. It's an LED light. And if you pull the tab out, it will light up, hopefully. As you take these lights and these postcards home with you, I challenge you to put them somewhere where you will see them. It might be that you decide to put it at home. And you could take a few moments, even today, in the midst of all the festivities, to share a glimpse of God's light today with someone else. Or maybe simply to pray for those who you know who find themselves in the darkness. Or it might be that you decide to take your light and your postcard to work when you go back to work and decide to bring the peace of Christ into any stressful situations that you come across, to be a calm presence and to bring your light and the light of Jesus into your workplace in that way. It may be that you decide when you go walking around your neighborhood to take it with you as a reminder. And if you know someone close to where you live who might be lonely today, you might just take a few moments to knock on their door and to share a gift with them and to share Jesus' light in that way. There are all sorts of different ways in which we can share the light of Jesus. And these lights and this postcard will help to remind us of that. We're going to listen to the beautiful arrangement of that carol, O Little Town of Bethlehem, called The Everlasting Light. And as we remember and as we listen, remember that like the lamplight from the stable in Bethlehem, our light is meant to guide others to Jesus. And so let's be intentional about carrying the light of Christmas into every dark corner that we know.
If you would like to subscribe to Battle Ready Sermons wherever you choose to listen to podcasts, or if you'd like to receive them direct to your inbox, head to www.equippinghispeople.com/sermons and follow the instructions.